Hey everyone, the Villains Demand here, bringing another spooky comic book review over the Amazing Spider-Man, the short Halloween. It's a one-shot from Marvel. It's a really fun story. Um, as with most of these Halloween one-shots, you don't get very many covers, maybe one or two. So there are going to be some screenshots from in the book, some fun pages, maybe some spoilers, just kind of show you what's going on. So fair warning before I get into it. I love Amazing Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. He's one of the, I would say he's probably the best comic book hero. He's obviously one of my favorites. But this is a pretty fun story. I recommend it. It's pretty fast to read. And there's not a whole lot to say about it before I get to spoilers. So here we go. We have a tale of two Spider-Mans. The first Spider-Man is your friendly neighborhood Peter Parker, and he is chasing down a new villain called Fume. And he is running through the streets during a Halloween party, and he has just made his very first heist, and he thinks it's great that he's getting chased by Spider-Man. The second one is about a drunk guy named Spidey. Who is Spidey? A drunk guy named Ronnie, and he's leaving the bar, and he keeps saying, "I'm Spider-Man," because he's drunk. And his buddies, Hunter S. Thompson and Shaun of the Dead, are basically trying to keep him from getting his ass kicked by two guys dressed as Green Goblin and Doc Ock at this bar. And he's drunk. They decide they got to take him home, and one of them hears exactly where they're going, so they decide to go crash the party. Well, they stop and to let him puke outside their apartment, and oddly enough, Spider-Man chases Fume there, and Fume accidentally knocks him out with a canister from his jetpack, and he falls to the alley below, crashing his head on every fire escape you can imagine. That's some Parker luck for you. And just happens to fall in the trash where Ronnie's at. Well, if you can imagine, things get mixed up here, and this is what makes it really funny. Ronnie's buddies pick up Peter, thinking that he's Ronnie. That's pretty funny. And they're talking about, "Wow, Ronnie, we didn't realize that you were so, so muscular and, so fit, you're really heavy." And it's funny because then Fume, thinking he's caught Spider-Man, picks him up and he's talking about, "Wow, you're real soft. You've really let yourself get out of shape." So now there's shenanigans. We have a jobber villain with a guy who thinks with a guy who's acting like Spider-Man because he's drunk. And it's almost like they're meant for each other. And then we have Pete, who is with this dude's friends, who thinks that he is still Ronnie, and he's not. Well, and then it gets even more crazy because Fume contacts his group that he's with, his supervillain group, the Furious Five, which gets jokes made fun of by the girl that he runs into when he's trying to escape from Pete. And they make the Kung Fu Panda reference. It's kind of funny because now if you look in the Fast Furious series, there's the Furious 5, I do believe. I'm not really sure if that's one of the movies. I don't watch those. But anyways, he's contacting his group to tell them that they got Spider-Man. And when they show up, they're bickering about it. And we have some new villains for Marvel, which are, at this time, Gossip Girl, Haymaker, Badger Teeth, and Mr. Think. I guarantee you will never see them again. That's how bad they are as villains. They're horrible. And I can't think of any other time I have ever seen them. And if they have showed up, they're horrible, and Punisher's probably killed them. Anyways, and they're arguing if they're going to either hold him up for ransom or Badger Teeth, who's obviously a vicious badass of all of them, decides, "Hey, we'll get ripped if we kill him. No one else has done it." Meanwhile, at Ronnie's apartment with his friends, his girlfriend, Cheryl, shows up. Ronnie's girlfriend. And she's had enough of him. He stood her up because he was drunk, and she promised herself this would happen because it happened last year. Well, anyways, while she is breaking up with him while he's drunk in his room, she goes to kiss his hand goodbye and gets blasted with web shooter in the face. It's kind of funny. Make your own references there. That's all I've got to say. But anyways, the two guys from the bar who got the address for Ronnie show up. They're still Green Goblin and Doc Ock. And they're going to beat Ronnie up because they ruined their time with the ladies. And that's when they realize that when Pete starts to come around and he sees them, he's like, "Oh my God, they're here." And finds them. That's when they realize, "Oh shit, we're up against the real Spider-Man." And he pretty handily beats them down because they're like punching him. It's pretty funny, like hitting him with everything they've got, and he's just kind of like, "What's going on?" And they're not even hurting him. And so they kind of destroy the living room. Peter does, and that's when Cheryl, she lifted up his mask, seen it was Peter. She don't know who Peter Parker is, and it's kind of funny because she's like, "That's not Ronnie," and the guys are like, "Oh boy." And then the guys show up from the bar. So it's all bad timing. It's all bad Parker luck. It's pretty great. And then we have the Fume, who's stuck in the argument and realizes this is wrong. I should have been a vacuum repairman like my dad and my dad before him. And he's going to help Spider-Man escape as the Badger Teeth is going crazy on everybody. Well, this is when Peter realizes, oh boy, I bet that's Ronnie. So they go to save him, and Fume, who's trying to help Ronnie escape, is start to get beat up by Badger Teeth, and Ronnie comes out of nowhere with a lead pipe and smashes Badger Teeth in the face. The Fume escapes, Mr. Think escapes, and that's how they realize where to go. Peter's like, I hate Halloween when he sees what's going, because Ronnie's sitting there with the big lead pipe over his shoulder, like, hey, look what I did, and everybody's like, oh my god, are you serious? Kind of makes Spider-Man look bad. This guy took out the villains. It's pretty funny, and what do you know, because his act of heroism, Cheryl gets back with him. She truly does love him. So, like I said, it's a pretty funny story, because Pete even chases down the Fume, and he realizes that the Fume returns all the stuff that he stole from the jewelry store, and he lets him go scot-free. And in the end, someone's like, what are you for Halloween? And the Fume's like, I'm a vacuum repairman. And Pete's happy about it. It's a pretty funny story. Like I said, the fact that Spider-Man would get mixed up with somebody on Halloween night, dressed as Spider-Man who's really drunk, that he would have to just hit his head so many times that he would stumble around much like the drunk person and look drunk. It's pretty funny. Honestly, I don't know why something like this wasn't written a long time ago for the character, or any Marvel characters for that, but I guess it makes sense that it happens to Spider-Man. But it's a pretty funny story. I recommend reading it. This has come out quite a long time ago. Off the top of my head, I could not tell you. 2009, right in front of the book. So, yeah, I mean, you're looking at a book at the time I'm doing this review. It's almost 10 years old. It's 9 years. So, if you can find it, I recommend picking it up, especially to just add it to your Spider-Man collection if you ever read something funny. Said it's really good, but I'm JVD for The Villains Man, bringing you this spooky comic book review over The Amazing Spider-Man. Short Halloween. Make sure to like and comment this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Keep reading, guys.